This training video will teach you how to perform the car damage annotation qualification. Now, you're required to do 15 images, and after you have completed 15 images, you'll be informed if you are qualified to work on the car damage image annotation task. Now, for this training purpose, we are going to use this training task to train you on the task. Now, click accept. So, first things first, let's go through the instructions document to understand better about the task. So, what is the task? Basically, the task requires you to assess the conditions of a damaged vehicle where you need to annotate the damaged areas of a vehicle. Now, the damage should be done at a car, at the whole scale of the car, where you assess the damage for the entire vehicle. And what you're required to do is you need to draw a box around the damaged area. So, what are you given? Now, in the task, you will be given an image with a code which will indicate the view of the vehicle. And what you are supposed to do is you need to draw a box where the damage is found on the vehicle and select the severity of the damage. Now, this is the task. So, here's the picture. This is the tool to draw the annotation. And at the bottom, you will have a rating of the severity of the damage. Now, you are required to draw a box around the damaged area. And remember, the box must be tightly and the box should only cover the damaged area. You're not drawing the entire panel, but you're only drawing where the damaged areas are. And it's to be done using one box, not more than one box. Now, going back to the instructions. So, as I said, draw the damaged area. Once you have drawn the one box around the damaged area, you need to assess and determine the severity of the damage, okay, of the entire vehicle using the guidelines given. Now, please note the understanding of all the panels is crucial in order for you to be able to do this task. Similar to the automotive condition analysis task, you need to familiarize yourself with all the panels of the vehicle before you can actually do this annotation task. And for that, I have also included the document to the automotive condition analysis at the bottom of this instructions here. So you can always refer to. Now, let's go back up here to see what are we supposed to do. So, next, what do we do? Now, let's look at the damage scales. What the severity, okay? What are the severities do we have? So, the damage scales that we have are the following. We have no damage, minor damage, moderate damage, major damage, severe, and non-salvageable. Let's go back to our instructions and see what does no damage mean and what are we supposed to do for no damage cases. So if you get a picture where you see that the picture that you got, the vehicle does not have any damages, you simply do not draw anything on the picture. Just scroll to the bottom and select no damage option and submit the task. Remember, you do not have to draw any box around the panels or the frame if there is no damage. Now, here are some brief examples of vehicles that are not damaged. Let's talk about minor damage. Now, what is a minor damage? What kind of damages that can be categorized under minor damage? So, if you have a vehicle that has 1 to 2 panels, okay, 1 to 2 panels, which is maybe the driver front or rear bumper or wheels or etc., with light damages, meaning it could be flat tire if it's a wheel, okay, or scratches, dings, and slight dents. Now, if you need to know what are the classifications or what um, it means to be a slight dent, you can always refer to these instructions here, where we have included the types of damages that are called slight damages. Here, these are the examples. Those, if you have a one or two panels that have slight damage, I mean my light damage, okay, and most of the vehicle panels are intact and properly aligned, you can determine it as a minor damage. So what do you do if you have a minor damage? For example, let's say you have a damage on the front bumper. So you basically draw a box around the damaged area, okay, a tight box around the damaged area, not the entire panel, just the damaged area, and select minor damage. So we'll look through some examples in a while. Right now, let's just go through the instructions. Now, uh, there are cases where where the vehicle is completely damage free, but you can see that the airbag has been popped open. So in that case, okay, if you can see a car's exterior and interior, but the vehicle does not have any visible damage, but the airbag has been deployed, you can assess this damage as a minor. Okay, listen carefully. When you have a vehicle where you can see the exterior and the interior, and the exterior does not have any damage, but you can see the airbags being deployed, you can see it as a minor damage because all the body panels and all are completely intact. Now, however, if you're only able to see the interior of the vehicle, means you cannot see the exterior parts at all, and you see the airbags are deployed, treat it as one heavy damage. Okay, so let's look at now moderate. What is a moderate damage? So there are 3 or more panels with light damage, or 1 or 2 panels with heavy damage. Again, if you would like to know what are heavy damage examples, you can scroll down to see the examples that we have. Now, and also according to them, more than 50% of the vehicle panels are intact. Okay, so again, so here is an example of moderate damage where you can see the front bumper has suffered a heavy damage, means there is a heavy tear, and at the hood of the bumper there's also a dent. Now this obviously is a slight dent, but this is a heavy damage. And here also, although this bumper here has just got scratches, here there is a heavy dent. So the moment you have one panel with heavy damage, it's already falling under moderate damage, or it can go beyond moderate depending on the number of panels that are damaged. Now the next category is major damage. So major damage is where 3 or more panels that are heavily damaged, okay, and basically less than 50% of the vehicle panels are intact. Now in this example here, you can see that the bumper, the trunk, and the fender is heavily damaged. So 3 parts that are heavily damaged would make it to be able to fall under the major category. All right, now how about severe? Severe is basically you have heavy damages across the interior and the exterior of the vehicles. And a trick here is that most of the vehicle panels are damaged. You might be able to, a trick here is to is basically to see when you have a severe damaged vehicle, you might be able to see one or two panels that can be salvageable. Okay, meaning one or two panels may still be intact. Okay, that is severe damage. Okay, so, and the last one is basically non-salvageable, where the entire vehicle is heavily damaged and most of the parts are completely destroyed. Okay, now a help for you to be able to distinguish severe and non-salvageable is that in most cases, severe and non-salvageable annotations and damages usually encompass the entire vehicle. This is something that you can look into when you're actually attempting the qualification and also the production. Okay, so now, so what are we supposed to do? Okay, now identifying the damaged areas. So again, regarding the airbag that we explained earlier just now, where this part here where you have the airbag rule, so a bit more explanation around that. Now, basically, vehicles that suffer from interior damages means, if let's say you have an interior damage where the dashboard or the seat or the airbags are deployed, okay, so the you treat the airbag damages as one heavy damage, and if let's say the dashboards and also the seats are broken, you treat that as another heavy damage. Okay, so you need to make sure when you're assessing the damages, you must remember to treat the airbags as one heavy damage, and also the dashboards or seat or floorboards as another heavy damage. Okay, you do not. So if let's say you have a picture of an interior, only the interior, if you see that the dashboards are broken and you see that the airbags are deployed, you can consider it as two heavy damages. And if you have the windscreen broken as well, the windscreen is not part of the interior, it's the exterior. Now, here are some example annotations that I'd like to go through before I take you through the task. Now, here we have a damage where you can see the airbags have been deployed here and also here. So the damage severity. So a way to help you level the severity is by counting the panels and also counting the damages. Okay, so here we have a picture of an interior, so you cannot see anything. Well, you can see the mirror windscreen, so you can only see the windscreen, the driver mirror, sorry, the driver door mirror, the dashboard, and also the interior of the vehicle. So according to our rule, if you only have the picture of an interior, if you see the airbag has been deployed, you treat it as one heavy damage. So one heavy damage already makes the severity of this vehicle to be moderate, because if you have one or two panels with heavy damage, it already falls under the moderate damage level severity. So, and that is an explanation that I've given here. So, and then what you do is you draw a box. So, how big should you draw the box? So, you draw a box from where the damage starts. So, as you can see, here is where the airbag deployment ends. So, from here, you draw a box covering the airbag that has been deployed, okay, from the steering wheel to where this panel is also visible, where the airbag is deployed. Okay, so you only annotate where you until where you can see the damage. So because it's a box tool, some way or not, you will definitely include certain parts that are not damaged, but your box must only, okay, be until where you see the damages. Okay, so another example here. So in this case, we have a flat tire at the back, another flat tire at the front. So flat tires are considered to be light damage. If the tires are twisted, bent, or broken, then those are considered as heavy damages. So, so let's count the damaged panels. So we have one light damage, two light damage, and as you can see here, there's also a scratch. So three minor damages are considered to be moderate damage. So again, how do I draw the box? I include the tire. So when I'm including the tire, I need to only include until where I can see the tire. If I can see a mud flap blocking the tire, if the mud flap is not damaged, I will not include the mud flap. Until where I can see the tire, only until there I include. Because now, if the tire is flat, okay, you can't really see where the actual damage on that tire is. It could be a nail, it could be something. So for tires, you usually will take the entire tire if it's flat. However, if it's completely damaged, then you will annotate the whole tire, including how it's broken. Now, I draw a box all the way, include the front tire as well, and because of the angle of the image, the scratches also have been included in the box that I draw. Then I label it as moderate. Now, in this one, so in this case, you can see that this wheel is broken, so it's tilted outside, and you can see that the wheel is damaged heavily. So this would basically mean it is one heavy damage. A flat tire means it's a light damage. A broken wheel is a heavy damage. So one heavy damage means that you have moderate damage. Okay, so again, only annotate the wheel and label it as moderate. Now, here, what do we have here? So here we have a vehicle where the bumper has been slightly detached. Now, just because the bumper has been slightly detached, you shouldn't automatically assume that there is a damage. Because if you look at the old instructions, you will see that it has mentioned that if you have bumpers that are partially detached, you assess them as how they are still attached to the vehicle. Okay, so say if a body panel is partly detached, do not automatically classify this as heavy damage. Instead, assess it the same way it will be as an attached panel. So if you have a bumper that is partially detached, okay, if you have a bumper that is partially detached, where is it? Okay, if you have a bumper that is partially detached, now you need to make sure if there are other slight scratches or any dents that are on the bumper where you can actually say and justify that, okay, this is a damage. Now, in most cases, when you have a bumper that is already slightly detached, there could be some paint scratches or some tear. Whereas in this case, there is actually a tear between the fender and the bumper, which is why we annotated where the tear actually happened. Okay, so in this case, we have some slight scratches here. So we just box the scratches and we label it as minor. Now here, now in this case, okay, in this example that you are looking here, this damage is severe because now let's count the number of panels that are still usable. So uh, the hood is usable, I would say, and then this grill here is okay. Other than that, most of the panels are heavily damaged. The wheel is missing, the front, the fender is damaged, the door is damaged, the rear quarter panel is damaged, the windscreen is damaged, the airbag is damaged, the roof is damaged. So most of the body parts are heavily damaged. So the way you can use a trick to help you guide the answer is that, now, number one, what are the answers that I can eliminate from the from my selection? So definitely no damage is out, minor is also out, moderate is also out, major is also out. So I either have to choose severe or non-salvageable. So, and basically because there's maybe one or two body parts that are still uh, salvageable, I cannot choose non-salvageable. I will then, the only option I have is severe damage. And how do I draw the box? So I draw the box basically to include the damaged parts. So this I include because the bumper is also broken. So you draw a tight box around the damaged area. Make sure if you have any parts sticking out of the vehicle, but they are still attached to the vehicle, you still include them. Okay. If a body panel of the vehicle is completely detached, only then you don't include. We will go through the examples in a while. The next one that I have here. So this is where we have another damage. Now this damage, we say it is major. So let's count the number of panels. So we have bumper, heavily damaged, the fender, heavily damaged, trunk, heavily damaged, and this windscreen is also heavily damaged. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 panels that are heavily damaged. So according to our instructions, if there are more than 3 panels that are heavily damaged, it falls under major damage. Okay, so in this case, I would annotate the body parts until where the damage actually is. So this until here. So make sure it's until where the damage is, and then this part I end it where the bumper should be. Okay, maybe this looks like where the bumper should be. Okay, and then I include the trunk that is sticking out that's damaged, the trunk that is sticking out that is damaged. If the trunk is not damaged, you don't include it. Okay, and also the top part here, I make sure that the box is until where the windscreen is supposed to be, because that's where the damage is. Okay, and then I'm label it as major damage. Now, here's an example where we spoke about earlier, where we have an image where all the vehicle panels are fine. Okay, dirt is not a slight damage. Please make sure you don't accidentally label dirt as minor damage. Okay, but you can see that the airbag has been deployed. So in this case, what do? We just annotate the airbag and we label it as minor damage. Now, here's another example where we have an interior picture where we have airbags being deployed and also we have a damage on the windscreen. So in this case, because the damage, okay, covers the entire frame of the picture, you draw a box around the whole image, because this part, the airbags have been deployed, so it's until here. So in this part, the airbag goes out of the frame, so you have to make sure it's until here. And the top part, because the windscreen damage goes beyond the frame, you include until where you can see the edges of the frame. Now, in terms of damage, we have one heavy damage where we have the airbags being deployed, and we have heavily damaged windscreen also. So in this case, we have 2 heavy damages. Okay, so because it's 2 heavy damages, we would say this is a moderate damage. So this case, okay, so In this case, this vehicle, okay, is considered to be moderate because of the following things. One, we don't see the airbag, okay, all right. We see the panel dashboard being heavily damaged, okay, all right. So there's one heavy damage, okay. So this part here, because of the damage, this is the entire image, so we are unable to see if actually the glasses have been damaged or not. So um, even though if the glasses are damaged, okay, even though the glasses are damaged, this may be considered as one damage, okay. So the safest answer that we can choose in this case, considering that we can only properly see one heavy damage, which is the damaged dashboard, is moderate, okay. So if we can see that the windscreen is heavily damaged, that makes another heavy damage. So one or two panels that are heavily damaged still falls under the moderate damage category. How, of course, unless we have the airbags being deployed, then we have three heavy damages, okay, which means if it's three, then it will jump to major, okay. So in this case, the reason why I've included this part here, the box, is because you see the speedometer is crushed also, and this one I included because obviously this part here, the panel has been detached, okay. So I had to make sure that the box covers the speedometer damage and this damage here. So that's how the box is. Now this one, so basically this is an example of a panel that is completely detached. So as you can see, the bumper suffers heavy damage, okay. The hood has got a slight dent here and some scratches, and then you have the airbags being deployed, okay. One heavy damage, two heavy damage, okay, all right. And then you have slight dents over here, okay. And number three, you also have a damage where you can see here, this fender is also crushed inwards, because you can see a gap between the door and also the what do you call it, the fender here, okay. And there's also like a dent, right. Now on top of that, you can also see that the hood is like, the hood has gone beyond uh, the frames, okay. So because there are at least three heavy damages, means like the one, okay, and this is minor, two. So because there's three heavy damages, we would say this should be a major damage, right. And the box that you're drawing, you include the what you call it, airbag that has been deployed. You make sure you include until where you see the scratches, okay, because this is where you need to draw. The box should end here, and then we cut here because here is where we assume the estimation of the bumper is going to be, okay. If the body parts are fallen off the vehicle, okay, even though they are touching against the vehicle, okay, you don't include the entire part that has been detached. However, if it's the body parts are sticking out, okay, from the vehicle, but they're still they are still attached to the vehicle's main frame, you include it, okay. Now here's another example where you can see the bumper that is being scraped off and twisted, and also it's touching the floor, but it's not detached from the vehicle, okay. So in this case, you would include that part where it's been scraped off, okay. So how many panels have damage here? So bumper one, hood two, okay, the fender 3. So there's 3 heavy damages with 1 minor damage, which is a flat tire. Okay, so in this case, this would still fall under major damage. So the damage that you're boxing, okay, should only include where you can see the damage area. And at the bottom here, you would actually include where the panel is actually sticking out. Okay, and remember, as I told you, if the panel is still attached to the vehicle, you still annotate them. Okay, only when it's fallen off completely, you assume where the panel should have been and you just make the right. So in terms of this is an example of a non-salvageable vehicle where you can see the entire vehicle is completely crushed. No panels that can be usable is visible, and the box, I include the whole thing because although it looks like this part here, so we cannot confirm that panels are detached from the vehicle. Okay, it looks like the whole vehicle is damaged completely, but all the panels are still connected to each other. So the best we can do is include all the panels as in one box and label it non-salvageable. Now, so here is another example. Now, earlier we mentioned that if you have a picture that focuses on the interior, okay, you can say that the airbags make 1 damage and the dashboard or the seat or the floorboard makes another heavy damage. Now, in this case, okay, let's see what we have in this damage. You can see that the airbags have been deployed. Okay, you can see the dashboards are also heavily damaged. You can see the body, the hood roof has been is crushing into the vehicle's interior. The door is missing, and you can see the front fender and the tire is also completely crushed. Now, in this case, you will say the damage is severe because based from your angle point of view that you have, you can see that most, okay, of the most or if not all the um, panels are heavily damaged, but you can't pick unsalvageable non-salvageable because you cannot see the entire vehicle. Okay, you cannot see the entire vehicle. Okay, so maybe only this whole part is crushed. Maybe the trunk of the vehicle is still fine. So because of this, you cannot select non-salvageable because you are supposed to grade the vehicle as a complete unit. So the maximum that you can choose for this case is that you can choose severe because you can see most of the panels here are heavily damaged. Okay. So the explanation I gave here is the two dashboards is damaged, airbags are deployed. Looking at the image, you can see the windscreen is smashed, the roof is crushed, door is missing, and also the wheels are damaged. Okay, taking into consideration that you're able to see majority of the parts, both exterior and interior, are heavily damaged, you can select severe damage. However, you don't choose non-salvageable because you're not sure if other parts of the vehicle are also damaged. Okay, now for this case, how do you annotate it? You obviously annotate where you can see the whole damage, and you basically include in this case you include the entire picture. However, you need to still remember, if there are parts or panels that are not damaged, okay, even though you have an interior look, you must remember to exclude it. Okay, so let's say you have a vehicle where only until this part, let's just say this part here, you can see the crushed roof, and at this part, at the beyond this part, you can only see the body panel and it looks fine. So your box should end this area here. However, in this case, because the roof is completely crushed until beyond this frame, I had to make the box go to the edges of the frame. Now this one, This is another example where we label this as moderate because let's count. We have one heavy damage where the bumper is torn. So the bumper is torn. One, that's like, this is a tear, this is another tear, and this is a dent. Okay, so we have this dent could be minor. Okay, looks like it can be a minor damage, but this definitely is a heavy. So the moment we have one heavy damage, we can already make it go under more moderate damage. So of course, make sure you annotate the parts until where the damage is, and any part that's sticking out because it's still attached to a vehicle, I include it. Okay, now this parts here I didn't include it because it doesn't look rusty enough. Okay, paint fading is not considered as rust. Okay, now another important thing, remember the bumper issue that I brought up? So here's an example where you can see space between the fender and the bumper. So decided that this is not a damage because we can see that it's completely fine. However, if at any point in time you see that paints have been chipped off in the connecting angles, or if there's any small scratches that can contribute showing that it's damaged, you need to start annotating. Okay. However, if there is just a gap and nothing is fine, you assume it that it is not damaged. Now, let's go to the portal, okay, and attempt some of the tasks. So here we have the first picture. Now let's assess the damage level first. Use the brightness control to control if you need to see any of the vehicle better, the panels better. Okay, it will help you with your answer. Now, as you can see that the mirror is damaged and there is also a dent at the door here. Now, if you look closely, the bumper detached a little bit, but you can't see any damages. Okay. Now, in this case, we treat this as if it was properly attached because I can't see any damages. Okay. So what do is we are going to focus on this area here. And now let's determine what is the damage first. So broken windscreen, okay, one heavy damage. Dented door, okay, I see it as another heavy damage. So two heavy damages, which means this is a moderate damage. Very good. Now let's draw the box. So how are we going to draw the box? So the box that you're going to draw should cover where the damage is, which is basically all the way here until where this part here, because this is where the damage actually, there's a dent here and this is like pointing outwards. And then this point here should come until all the way here because the mirror is where the damage starts. And then this part here, the mirror. And then here, obviously, the mirror, where the mirror ends. Okay, so this is how the damage should be. The annotation should be, okay, and you select moderate. Once you have done with your selection, you then submit the task. So this is the first example. Now, let's look at the second example. Now, in this case, you can see an interior view of the picture of the vehicle. Okay, you can see some shattered glass. Okay, now the problem is you don't know if this shattered glass, where is it? Is it from the window that the viewer is standing at right now, or if it is this window right here? So just because you see broken glasses, you don't annotate them as a damage. You're supposed to annotate where the panel is. Now, in this case, what can you see in the picture? You can see that the airbag has been deployed at this area of the vehicle. So our damage should only be this part of the vehicle. Now I draw a box. I start where the beginning of the airbag happens, and then I include the entire airbag the way here and here, here's the airbag. So the airbag ends here, and also it goes all the way until the edge of the frame here. Then airbag deployment, if you can only see the interior part of the image, you treat it as moderate. Okay, then you submit the task. Now let's look at another example. So here we have a vehicle where you can see the damage is until here, the hood. Okay, and then this is the damaged area. This is the part, you see the panel sticking up, but it is not detached from the vehicle. Okay, so how are we going to draw this? So you start where the damage starts, which is here. Okay, you make sure you include the part where you can see this damage area. Okay. Obviously, you need to include the wheels and make sure the line at the bottom is covering this part that's sticking out. And then you pull towards where this dent is. Because here's the dent also, right? So you need to make sure you pull it all the way there. Okay, so adjust the box again. Then as for the damage, this is obviously a major damage. So then you can submit. Moving on to the next example. Now, in this example, as you can see, the hood is popped open. Now, please take note, just because the hood is popped open doesn't mean it is damaged. Okay. Now, if you inspect the vehicle further, you can see that this part has a damage. Okay. And you can see how this part here has been dented and the bumper also is dented. Okay. It's dented inwards. So how are we going to annotate this vehicle? So you draw a box around this area because that's where the dent is. Okay. You don't have to include the entire bumper. You're only including the damaged area because, and also especially this part here, because this is where the bumper has like dented inwards. This part here. Okay. And then this part is where you can see the dent. Okay. You can see the dent. All right. Okay. And because the panel is sticking, okay, all right, you're sticking out, you include, okay, you include this also. All right, so this is how the damage should be for this vehicle, because you see the panel sticking out. Okay, and because it's still attached, you include that to your end. Now let's talk about the damage. So in this case, you would see this as a, so the way I would use my judgment is like this. So number one, things that I can exclude. Non-salvageable, I excluded it out. Severe, I excluded out. Major, I excluded out. No damage, I excluded out. So it's either moderate or minor. So it's either those two. So if we revisit the rules back, minor is basically 1 or 2 panels that has light damage. Moderate is 3 panels with light damage or 1 or 2 with heavy damage. So minor, obviously this is more than minor because the bumper is dented inwards and maybe this fender is a slight damage. So since there is already a heavy damage, the best option for this would be moderate. Then you can now submit the task. So let's go through another example. Now in this case, you can see that the vehicle is perfectly fine. There's no damages or anything. So just select no damage and submit. Let's look at another one. Now here's a vehicle where you can see the vehicle is damaged. Okay. Now let's basically determine the severity first. Okay. So interior and exterior is heavily damaged. Wheels are damaged. Rear bumper, fender, window, hood, doors, most of it is damaged. The only thing that is probably salvageable here is this panel where you can somewhat say it has this rear door here where there is a what do you call it, minor damage. Okay, I mean this panel right here. Okay, not the windscreen, the rear's windscreen, but this part here. Okay, so in this case, okay, the way I would define my answer is that obviously it's not minor, major, or moderate. It's either non-salvageable or um, severe. So in my judgment, since there's one panel that we can still use, I would treat this as a severe damage. Now, how do we annotate this? Obviously, okay, you draw a box around the entire vehicle. So this, okay, it looks like some panels are sticking out but still attached. So this panel has been completely detached from the vehicle, okay, and this panel, okay, seems like it is still attached to the vehicle, okay, like it's hanging. So you need to make sure you include the hanging. Any panels that are hanging, you include. Only the things that are not hanging you exclude. Means like this. This is the, wow, this is the exhaust. So the exhaust obviously has been ripped off, so you don't have to include the exhaust. So let's draw the box now. Include panel here. Oops, sorry, all the way to here. So let's use the brightness control. Okay, and for the front, it goes all the way until the front. Because, okay, because we have because, okay, that is, the panel is seems to be still attached and this part is just hanging, I am including the entire panel. Okay, and I mean, due to the fact the panel is hanging, this somehow manages to fit into the box, but this part, okay, it's obviously it's being excluded. Okay, all right. Now, so obviously, as we discussed, the severity is severe damage. Make your selection and then submit the task. So let's look at more examples. Now, in this case, you can see that the vehicle has got minor scratches at this area of the vehicle. So what we do is we annotate this part here. Okay, make sure to only include until where the damage is. So rain spots and also dirt are not part of the damage. Please make sure you don't accidentally mark it as damage. And obviously, since it is a minor damage here, you select, okay, and then you submit the. Now here's another example. Okay, so obviously you can see most of the vehicle is heavily damaged. Okay, the doors are missing, the rear tire has got a flat tire, minor damage, the front part is all heavily damaged. So this would be either severe or non-salvageable. Now this would be not non-salvageable because the rule for non-salvageable is that all the panels are heavily damaged. Okay, so in this case you can still see that this rear part of the vehicle, all this part here, okay, it's completely fine except for the flat tire. So this would still be a severe damage. Okay, it wouldn't reach non-salvageable because all the panels should be damaged, only then it is non-salvageable. And this panel here is basically detached and is lying on the floor, so I wouldn't include this whole panel, but this I would include because it's sticking out. So how am I going to draw this box? Draw a box until where the tire is because that's where the minor damage is. So zoom in. If you need more clarity, make sure that, okay, and then include the top part that's sticking out. This part here, make sure you include where the wheels are here and also this part here. Okay, all right. So, all right. So this is basically how the annotation should be. And obviously the severity is severe damage. All right. So this is how you perform the vehicle damage annotation task. Please remember to go through the instructions document as frequently as you need, and make sure you familiarize yourself with the old instructions where you need to identify and understand the different panels. It's very important that you realize and also you understand every panel and also their function before you work on this task. Now, another important note as well, remember that there are some instances where the vehicle might have certain markings, additional markings. Okay, don't mistake the markings as damages, because those markings could be that uh, it is where the indication of where the damage could be. So those basically are there to help you, okay, find the damage, okay, where the damages are. Okay, so please make sure to read the instructions before you attempt the task.